Hello from Mexico. Very nice. What time is it in Mexico? It's later here. It's like 6 p.m. there. Here. So it must be about 6 hours earlier there. Maybe around noon. Thanks for joining. I'm just getting set up right now. I'm a few minutes early. So anybody who's joining, and as you'll see, I'll be looking both ways because I'm also on TikTok as well as YouTube. So anybody joining, yeah, feel free to ask your product and UX questions. We'll be getting started here in a bit. I'm actually just finishing up a last minute work. Oh yeah, okay, 10 a.m. Oh, way earlier than I thought. Oof. You're on YouTube lives at 10 a.m. That's impressive. But yeah, I'm finishing up a last minute work message at a late meeting. So I'll be getting started here in a bit while everybody else still joins. Just had a design review and we're doing some like long-term visionary work and need to push the designers a little bit further. So just want to recap everything we discussed. Yeah, so anybody joining, I think we'll get started here in a few minutes just as we bulk up on people. But yeah, if you have any questions in the meantime, it's always first come, first serve. So feel free to drop them in the chat. And we'll get started in just a bit. My dog has just sat below the desk, just like, hey, you're supposed to be done at your desk by now. What are we doing? Why are we still here? I also can't spell differentiated. Differentiated. Nailed it. Got it. Both. How's everyone's week going so far? Have you guys been like, I guess it's Wednesday, it's hump day. Have you guys been like heads down in meetings? Have you been like cracking on with being really focused on some design work, testing? You doing anything fun this week, work-wise, design-wise? You looking for jobs? I feel like a lot of us are doing that right now. Focus on exploring. And then what was the other thing? Cool. I see a few questions popping in over on TikTok. Please keep them coming. If you have any questions, if you don't have any questions, let me know where you're from. That's always super fun. And then maybe I can guess what time it is there. I I'm usually never right unless it's very, very close to me. But yeah, feel free to do that. And hopefully the audio is doing okay as well, because sometimes it's a bit rough, depending on how it's feeling that day, how YouTube or TikTok is feeling. Um, okay. Okay, I think those are the big things. Mm-mm-mm. I'd also be curious who we have joining. I never asked this question, but I'd be curious if you guys are junior designers, senior designers, design managers, lead designers, any of the hierarchy, freelance designers, app designers, whatever title you're going by. I'd be curious to know where you fall. If you don't know, I'm a principal designer, which effectively means I'm the highest kind of ranking IC that you can really be in tech, in design for the most part. So it means I don't have reports at the moment by active choice, but lots of coaching, mentoring, and I work on primarily strategic topics, which means I'm actually really not hands-on with design very much anymore. Um, so I don't work in Figma a lot, but I guide. Like I just completed this design review today, and I give a lot of creative direction on stuff, especially for more complicated future-facing topics. Is kind of my bread and butter. So yeah. But yeah, let me know what type of designer you are in the chat if you want. A do-day question I can answer super fast and super easy if I do portfolio reviews. I do. Sometimes I do have a secret form that if you can find it, you can fill out and you can, and I might review your portfolio. I do have a few on TikTok portfolio reviews that I've gone through. I actually think I have what do they call that? A grouping, something in my profile where I've posted all my portfolio reviews. So you can find them in there, but I don't do portfolio reviews regularly or just like one-on-one. I do them for content so that other people can learn from them as well. But if you can find that form on my website, definitely fill it out and you can sit in the backlog for if I get the motivation to do a portfolio review. They're quite exhaustive and they're also really hard to turn into like interesting short form content that actually still provides value. But I know you guys want them a lot, and portfolios are a big topic, of course. So, yes. Is anybody working on their portfolio right now? That's always a big one. Endlessly, usually. Okay. I think those are the big ticket items. Yeah, I think just needed to drop my directive notes in after this design review that I just completed. Okay. So anybody who's just joining, I just saw a bunch of numbers pop up. Feel free to drop your UX and product design questions, any questions that you have, or let me know where you're from. So Brazil, very cool. I'm actually quite jealous. I'm actually not so jealous. The weather has been quite nice here in the Netherlands. The sun is shining, but anytime it's not, which is the vast majority of the time, I'm so jealous of people who live in South America. I know it gets like too hot down there, but I so much prefer the heat over the cold and the rain and the wind. I've also been to Brazil. I think it was Oh my gosh. How long ago was it? 5? Ooh, 5 years ago now? I went for Carnival, and, it was something else. It was crazy. Um, but yeah, it was quite the experience. I really enjoyed it. Definitely sketchy. The favelas, were, something that were talked about a lot. I think I met probably a few people who were no, I knew I went on some tours with quite a few people who had been, uh, mugged, unfortunately, just kind of within the area that we're in. But I also met some really cool people, just wandering around, the dancing, the streets, all of that was super, super cool. South of Brazil. Okay, it's pretty cold in the south of Brazil. I'm not gonna try to say that, but I am gonna look it up. Curitiba. Good. Okay, I've definitely not been there. Wow. Okay, yeah, I've been to Rio de Janeiro, so it's not like too far, but you definitely are more south. That's super interesting. Okay. Dallas, Texas. Nice. Hot there, I imagine. Is it? Hot? Yeah. Oh, no. Texas just flooded. I just saw a bunch of, flood content on, TikTok recently for Texas, so hopefully you're not in those areas, but Texas is also massive. Not as much this year, it's just raining. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah. Okay, I have a question over here about okay, funny question, but I'm gonna answer the actual UX question. Um, Jacob Nielsen, still a name in UX. I'm a bit rusty. I would say yes, fundamentally. Like a lot of the foundational things about UX haven't really changed, and therefore, like Jacob Nielsen is, yeah, still really relevant. Actually, the NNG group, the Nielsen Norman group, right? I think they've expanded quite a lot. Like they have a lot of content. But it's not necessarily like by just Jacob Nielsen. He now has a whole basically company or group dedicated to creating like UX content. Um, I don't see I don't see a lot of unless I actively go there. Yeah, what do they have going on? So you can still get a UX certificate, UX master's certification. Seems excessive. Let's see. Yeah, so they're still offering courses, but I think for the most part, both the founders have stepped back. Most all of the Nielsen Norman group is run by other UX experts. So, like, yes, relevant as an NNG group, but I don't know that Nielsen Norman is super around. I never see anything from him. Is he even alive? I think he's getting up there. Yeah, so he founded it in 1998. Let me see how old he is. That's not him. That's just the okay, the company is 26 years old, which does not answer my question. Not helpful. Okay, Google's not telling me. If you guys can find it, let me know. But it's not coming up for me immediately. Um, but yeah, so I wouldn't say that he's super relevant. He's definitely one of those kind of like Nielsen Norman. There's a few other names that are just so foundational, but maybe that's because that's when like the big UX, like when I was learning UX, I still followed Jared Spool, I think is his name. Um, he's still super relevant. Am I getting the name right? I'm really bad at names. Let me just double check that I'm saying that right. Okay, yeah, it is Jared Spool. Okay, good, nailed it. He's super relevant. I would say maybe not in like the massive content, because that's the thing is like who's relevant, who's not. There's such an overabundance of UX content on the internet now, whereas it used to be like when Nielsen Norman Group, yeah, 20 years ago, and those folks, they became kind of like, I don't know, what do you call that when somebody's like really important and just like sticks sticks out as like a a figure, a UX figure, leader, I don't know, whatever it's called. Oh, Nielsen Norman, 89. Um, yeah, so that's that's pretty old. Um, yeah, so, when all those folks were coming out and kind of like the explosion of UX, like there was like a handful that you could really go to for referencing like good and putting out like, content on the internet before the internet was anything like it is today. But now there's so much content with social media, different platforms and stuff like that. It's not the same thing. You can have people who are smarter and better even than some of those kind of original folks, but there's so much more content to fight against that even if they are, they'll probably be drowned out or they'll just sit in a bucket with a lot of other people who are putting information out as well. It's just not the same. It's just not as established. It's not as exclusive. There's so much more content out there. Anyways, let's see. Yeah, Jared Spool is the guy that I'm referencing. So he created this kind of like, I guess you could call it a community, but it's like a leaders community. So if you're like a UX leader, and he touches on quite a bit of advanced topics. I haven't jumped into his stuff recently just because I haven't had time, but I have a backlog of his emails of some of his recording. Talks about like giving UX a voice in big decisions. What are the career course you've been waiting for? Leadership skills, unblocking your UX career, the most important UX research you're not doing, the best metrics for AI-based functionality. Very curious to listen to that one. Using your UX vision to drive innovation and product roadmaps. Love that. So yeah, he touches on some pretty senior topics, which I'm super interested in, sometimes really valuable. And he's stayed relevant. He's been around since before I started UX over a decade ago. Probably he's been around at least for a couple decades. I would say close to probably the amount of time that Jacob Nielsen has been around, maybe a little less. But he's one of the kind of staples, I would say. I've known of him for my entire kind of career and off and on. Let's see if I'm missing anything. Oop. Okay. Hang on. Everyone on TikTok, just hang on because my phone is just barely balanced. Okay. Okay. There's some really. Seeing his designs. Oh no. Yeah. Breaking into UX UI is not a thing anymore, right? Interesting. Yeah, it's absolutely a thing. I've got messages from juniors and aspiring people breaking in or getting jobs, getting internships and things. I've heard several over the course of a few months. Is it less? Is it harder? Yes. Is it still a thing? Yes. But it is far more, the bar is so much higher now than it used to be with the oversaturation of the market that it's tough. It's tough. But I mean, it is happening. It is still happening. It's just yeah, it's just a fair amount less for sure, for sure. But I wouldn't say, it's not a thing anymore. Mm-mm. What resources sorry, I had my doors open all day, so there's like these little bugs in here. What resources do you use to keep up to date with product design trends, new tools, best practices? Honestly, I have a very strong opinion on that kind of stuff. I could give two shits about new tools. I could give two shits about product design trends. And then best practices have remained pretty much the same fundamentally, kind of across the board. I much prefer to learn on the job and kind of what's needed to serve the either objectives or the problems of the project at hand than trying to keep up to date. I learned that pretty early on in my career. I was absolutely the designer who was like, oh, I got to read all the things. I got to read Smashing Mag and I got to watch every Apple update and I got to like keep all everything like that's going on in my head. But the more seasoned you get, the less it really matters to be up to date with those things. I've actually made a few posts about like how like FOMO design and all these Figma updates and all the absolutely paramount amount of AI tools and stuff like that is actually making designers worse because that's not how companies, real companies, the ones who pay you, by the way, actually operate. They don't onboard the new tools, they don't onboard the new things, and usually they're particularly quite slow at doing it. So when things become industry standard, which is a very loose term because there are no industry standards, but, when they become actually important enough to pay attention to, uh, you can't ignore it. It will be right there in front of you. It will be in the job descriptions. It will be needed in your case studies and those types of things. So I actually way prefer to shut out the noise more than pay attention to it. And I think it's a common mistake, including what I have done. You don't need to stay up to date with all those new releases and new tools and things to be a good designer. There's way more valuable things that you can be spending your time on than keeping up to date with all the trends. If trends come and your company wants to do a rebrand, your stakeholders want to get trendier, look more modern or more advanced, okay, learn it then. Learning it 5 months in advance when the new trend comes out, when Apple sets the new standard, is not going to help you. You will get a job request, or you'll get a client who comes in with that type of kind of design, and you can learn it on the job then to just learn it and do it ahead of time, unless maybe you're trying to put a case study or in your portfolio that reflects that because that's the type of work you want. Okay, sure. Do it. But again, even that is still with purpose, right? Um, so yeah, that's my 2 cents on keeping up to date with all the new trends and tool releases and all those other things. It's far less important than people on the internet make it seem like it is. Okay? Everyone's screeching like, "This is the new standard. This is gonna be the new the new way of working for all companies. The UX designers are gonna be out of job, and this tool's gonna take this tool's gonna take their job." Oh my god. There's a lot of propaganda out there. So just be careful and keep your sanity, because it's not as important as people scream from the mountaintops that it is. Um, what are we asking here? Okay. Hey, I'm a designer with 3 years of experience, but I feel stuck in my role right now. How can I position my experience when I feel like my projects aren't impressive enough for the roles that I want? Very amazing question. So, there are a few things that yeah, it depends on kind of what opportunities you have in your role with or in the company that you're in right now. If they're just kind of coming to you with very prescriptive tasks, hey, design this, hey, design this. I do have, I'm already going to share some resources. And for those of you on TikTok, which there's quite a few of you now. I'm just saying, I always try to share the link, but I don't think the links actually come through. So if you want to grab them on YouTube later, you can. But I did write this article about how to take your first step in becoming a more strategic designer. So this is if you want to take the route of trying to showcase more of your value, try to get more advance a little bit more in the company that you're in. Now, that is highly dependent on your stakeholders, kind of whatever your setup within your company is. But if you can start to showcase more of the value that you can bring to the team, to the company, then you can get a little bit more unstuck and you'll be pulled into more things. You'll be looked to for a little bit more direction, et cetera, than maybe if you're in a position that you're just getting prescriptive requests. Now, that being said, if you are not in a company who kind of facilitates that or is open to that, then you are looking then on the outside. So you're saying like my projects aren't impressive enough to make for the roles that I want. Um, then make them. So any of the work that you've actually done, Where there were limitations, maybe you didn't get to, I don't know, design or implement half of the features that you wanted to or you recommended. Or maybe they didn't get any data back on how your design solutions actually impacted the users or whatever it may be. You can still talk about that stuff. You can still talk about what you would have wanted to do or what you even advocated for doing. But then there was a limitation within, you hit walls or there was limitations in timelines or whatever the case may be. But even if you don't have it, you can still express your understanding and your kind of, I guess, your knowledge and experience of wanting to have done those things. So I heavily encourage that we add this feature because it would provide this user and business impact. But unfortunately, due to constraints, timelines, whatever, we couldn't do it, except whatever. But maybe that feature and that understanding, like that might be more aligned with the roles in the experience that a company might be looking for. Additionally, the impact of your designs is huge, right? If and a lot of designers don't actually get the evidence of that. I know I worked in an agency for multiple years, and I couldn't tell you if any of my any of my designs were actually successful because we didn't measure anything. We just worked on the client, did the thing, and then they went, and then on to the next client, and so on and so forth. So that being said, you can still talk about what you would have measured or what you would have looked at for success. Yeah, if your designs, if the whole kind of goal or point of your designs was to increase conversion, contact, click through, reduce bounce, whatever it was, you can still state that you would have measured those things. If you didn't do any testing, what you would have tested, how you would have tested, and why. So I think this is something that I see a lot of designers avoid or they don't kind of consider doing is that your thinking and your understanding of wanting to do those things regardless of the limitations of the current role that you're in is really really powerful for your next employer, because if you can express even a semblance of understanding of more of the type of stuff that they're looking for, like as you outline your case studies, you'll be way better off than just not including it altogether. Now, what I have done previously, if I was just not getting the type of work that I wanted to, and this is really when I was transitioning from being a developer to a designer, I couldn't get the work. I just was a developer. Like I couldn't get design work, but I did have some design skills. So I went out and particularly picked out freelance clients where I could explore those skills, where I could, yeah, basically incorporate pieces into that project that I knew my next potential employer wanted, or like my ideal company potentially kind of wanted to see evidence of. And then I got that evidence. Basically, I got enough evidence to get like a, at least that transition forward. And that's what did get me eventually into a designer, interactive designer role. Um, over being purely in development. So there's a few kind of options depending on if you want to try to see what opportunities you have internally versus moving on to the next kind of company, and then maybe utilizing freelance a little bit to see if that is what would help you transition. Mm-mm-mm. Sorry, TikTok. Hang on with me. Okay. Okay, lots of good questions. Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm scrolling back up to make sure I'm not missing any. Yeah. Cool. I'm just going back and forth between TikTok and YouTube. I'm doing my best, guys. Curious to hear your opinion on ethics. Yeah, ethics in US. Please share one of your interesting case and how you approach it. Ethics. I'm not sure what you mean like generally by ethics. Obviously, there's things like dark patterns. There's very questionable company objectives around ethics. So, for example, I would full force never work for like a gambling app or a gambling company, right? I think the ethics there are they don't align with my morals. Same thing with any company that I knew who actively did animal testing. or something along those lines. I know this isn't like ethics within the actual product experience, but yeah, like I would just avoid companies who generally have overarching bad ethics or ethics that don't align with my morals altogether. Now, when it comes to the ethics of UX, I think that, I mean, over here in the EU at least, there's been a lot of compliancy and regulation to dampen down the dark patterns and things that a lot of companies were doing really bad, like automatically opting you into newsletters and extra payments and like all these other things. So I think those regulations and things are really good, and those are the types of things that if you're working for a company outside of the EU or even I guess in the EU and trying to get away with it, who are advocating that you do those types of patterns, get out. like, yeah, because the ethics of basically, I guess, forcing the hand or being sneaky or hiding things from people in your product experience, yeah, that's not the space that you want to be in. That's not the type of work you want to represent. I think if you work for any larger corporations, they might notice that and see that in your work, and that's not going to be a good track record for you. So yeah, but in terms of always advocating, like you can be in positions where maybe you need to advocate and educate around why some things are unethical or bad UX patterns, and hopefully there's reception to that. But you need, yeah, us as designers are on the front lines for that, right? And educating, like, why not just have a stress-inducing countdown or saying there's only one one left or whatever, even if it's untrue and all these other things. So yeah, we are kind of on the front line for those types of things. Um, that's my general trying to answer like a general ethics question. That's my 2 cents. Okay, back over to YouTube. I'm aiming to become a principal designer eventually. Ooh. What would you recommend as a roadmap to get there? Okay, I have a very practical advice for you. I don't know what level you're at currently, but if you want to become a principal designer, let's say you're a senior designer. I'd bet on that that you're a senior designer, just because that's what most designers are. I would then do a skill gap analysis to a lead designer. Because if you want to become principal, it means you're not going to become a design manager. You're not going to go up the management track, right? Principal designers are ICs and strategic and whatever we are. So I do a skill gap analysis for the next role that you want to achieve. And I'm going to share another newsletter because it has a skill gap analysis guide in there. And effectively, what you want to do, whether it's within the company you're already in, and if there's opportunity there, amazing. But if there's not, you can still do it for external. Sorry, I can't talk and look for a link at the same time. Yeah, so in this article, there's a skill gap guide. There you go. Right? Yeah. So there's a skill gap analysis guide. Yeah. Okay. Senior UX, nailed it, guessed it. So you want to get up to a lead designer, or some companies call it a staff designer. There's a few other names out there, but so look at the next role within your company and then evaluate your skill set and your experience and what evidence you have against the role requirements of the next level that you want to get to, whether it's within your company or within some other company. And then figure out a way, work with your manager, work with, find it yourself, whatever it may be, to find opportunities that will allow you to gain evidence for where you have gaps. That's kind of the number one. That's, you got to do the work before you get the work. I think for the most part, I've never heard it be any different, that you have to basically be doing the role before you get the role. That's my general understanding. If it's better somewhere else, I hope that it is. But yeah, you kind of have to be performing at it. So then go gain the evidence that you need. And of course, all the while that you are doing that, very much make sure that you are making it visible. That is so, so, so important that people know what you're doing and the impact that it's having. So that's the first step. And then I would just do that again. Once you get to a lead or staff designer or whatever, do it again. That's how I got to the principal role, is I just looked through the role requirements and said, cool, I have evidence of all these things. and then found opportunities, seeked opportunities, asked my manager to find me opportunities to get evidence for the stuff that I hadn't covered yet. So, but yeah, I can't stress enough how important it is to make sure that your impact is super visible, um, all the way through every step of the journey. Cool. Mm-mm-mm. Am I an entrepreneur? A little bit, just a little bit though. Entrepreneur in the sense that I do this. I have a bit of a side business, kind of doing this content thing, as well as yeah, selling some kind of resources and stuff. But primarily, I work in big tech. I have a full time job in big old Fortune 100 company as a principal designer. So entrepreneuring on the side, but definitely full time in corporate. Hi, I have problems finding a new job as most people expect fancy stuff, and I mostly do UX integration. Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm not surprised. The visual side of things has become so much more accessible and easy with design systems. This is even before AI and stuff, but it's becoming more and more easy, and therefore the expectation to kind of do both UX and UI is becoming more and more standard. More roles like product designers, UX/UI designers is becoming more of an expectation, or the role requirements just expecting you to be able to do both. So I'm not super surprised that more jobs are you're kind of struggling because of that. Is that's just kind of the way the industry is moving. Is the expectation that you can kind of do both is there. Now, if you are kind of a specialist, maybe you're a UXer who does like service design, maybe AP, you have knowledge of like API integrations, and you can work with some of those more complex things, you can still, I'm sure, manage to get high paying jobs in that kind of speciality, but it's a niche. That's absolutely niche. It's not applicable across a variety of product spaces and in kind of role requirements. So I would probably encourage you to start flexing and getting more experience on the visual side of things, especially because, like I said, there's design systems, there's a bunch of other stuff that you can kind of plug and play on top of your UX a lot of the time. But I would start to hone a little bit more of those skills because yeah, that's just kind of the way that it's going. You need to know what good looks like in terms of a UI to serve a good UX as well. I've said it 1,000 times, but whether you're an explicit UX designer or you're an explicit UI designer, those specialities and that split is going to become probably obsolete within, I wouldn't say tomorrow, but it will become fewer and fewer and fewer roles because it's just too specialty, and companies are going to require us as designers to do more effectively. What to do when stakeholders give you vague feedback and they're always dissatisfied. Um, vague feedback, you need to be very well equipped with asking the right questions to turn that vague feedback into not vague feedback. Um, yeah, I think that's the overarching theme of yeah, being a more senior designer, and kind of you learn it along the way. So it's like, this is bad, and I don't like this, and this is too small, or I don't know. Yeah, vague. um, there's usually, for the most part, an underlying concern, and you need to help surface that with the right series of questions. So, what is the real problem that is being surfaced through that vague feedback? What concerns or impact do they think that this thing they don't like actually will have? It's like, we'll restate the goals. Do you feel like this is going to impact those goals in some way? Or we're looking to measure success via this direction or whatever. Do you feel like that's going to impact that measurement? Right? Like, be well equipped with that kind of series of feedback. Oh, sorry, a series of questions to get to the root of whatever that vague feedback is. Or what I find actually happens a fair amount of the time is once you start questioning them, they realize kind of how fluffy or how unbacked and unfounded their feedback actually is. It's kind of my favorite thing a little bit. Oh, my phone's somebody's calling me, which made my phone vibrate, which made it start to fall. Um, yeah, it's I found so many times that once you start to poke a few holes and ask the right questions, people will be like, "Oh, actually, you know what? Like, mm, I don't really know what I was asking, or I don't really understand why I was asking that, or like whatever." They maybe just were in a moment they wanted to like express an opinion, but it's unfounded, or they don't really know why and they can't explain it. So, yeah, but bar none, it's about having that arsenal of questions that will get to the root of the cause, if there is one. So, okay, cool, cool, cool. Principle. All right. So I started out as a designer learning UI and Figma. Now I feel the need to focus more on business and product strategy, especially with AI. You are so right. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes. So I just shared that article. What is it? My first link here? Yep. Yeah, it's my first link. So for you, I would definitely recommend starting there. It's like very like nice segue into becoming more strategic as a designer. And actually definitely follow my newsletter because literally that's all I talk about is how to become more strategic as a designer. And then also check out this one. It's called When Design Speaks Business, Everyone Listens. And then everybody on TikTok, if you literally just go to my Substack link, which is in the link in my bio, you'll have access to all of this as well. I've tried to share links in TikTok. It never works. So I'm sorry. Or you can just pop over to YouTube. Either way, the information is there and accessible. But yeah, if you are so spot on that becoming more focused on business and product strategy is absolutely key to survival. Everyone, key to survival as the way the industry is moving. It's so important. And you can do it at a very low level. You can start out as a junior, just get a base understanding to utilizing and weaponizing it in design reviews, which is, trust me, so good and wish I did it so much earlier on in my career. Because once you have the power of understanding the business, okay, Mateus, you changed your name. Thank you. And I don't know if I'm saying that right, but now I can say your name with confidence. So yeah, definitely check those two articles out because I think that they will be like a nice segue. But yeah, having that business understanding, product strategy, building up your influence beyond just beyond just being like an executor or person who is the doer. So important because otherwise, as most senior designers do, they will hit a glass ceiling because nobody sees you adding more value than just doing the dang thing. And that's where a lot of designers get stuck and don't know how to get unstuck. So yeah, really great point. And I'm glad you asked that. It's also like my mission. It's also like my whole MO to like try to get designers to become more strategic because of how much more value you add, how much more job security that gives you, how much better it sets you up for the future and the way the industry is going. Like there's just an endless amount of benefit to doing that. How do you handle disharmony between product and engineering? You don't. You put them in a room together and then have them fight it out. No, I'm actually really funny. I know I keep talking about my Substack, but you guys, I cover these topics because I know a lot of you struggle with this. So if you have a disharmony between product and engineering, you basically have two stakeholders. Your product's over here wanting, blue sky in the world, and your engineers are like, we can't build that. And because product also wants this done tomorrow, effectively you are the one handling like the conflicting feedback. You're the middleman, so to speak. And that can be super challenging, but I am literally sharing a new post this Sunday about how to handle that conflicting feedback, how to tie it back to the original goals, whether it is timeline, maybe your product and engineering folks, whether it's capabilities, or whatever the user or business goals are. So that's kind of I would say the number one thing is always anchor it back into the goals. What are we actually trying to achieve with this? And then you can also be the middleman to say, okay, well, if that's what we're trying to achieve, we need to extend the timelines because the engineers are saying it's going to take more time, or we have to cut the experience, because if a shortened timeline is kind of the actual goal of this, then we have to version it. We have to say, okay, this is V1, this is V2, this is V3. Anyways, in this article, I will absolutely equip you with multiple scenarios of when people are disagreeing in different ways, how to handle it. So actually, I've started to write it a little bit, so I can give you a little teaser. Let's see. Yeah, the tug of war. So yeah, one stakeholder says make it simpler. Another one says, can we add more features? One wants it mobile first. The other one wants desktop. It's crazy. Engineering wants feasibility. Product wants scalability. So yeah, in here I'm talking about things definitely not to do, like rushing to incorporate everything, ending up with a bloated product experience. Also, what do you do when you have a very senior stakeholder versus a junior stakeholder? Does one piece of feedback outweigh the other? Spoiler, no, it doesn't. And then, yeah, if you're really stuck, maybe how you can escalate it to people within your organization. But bar none, kind of the summary I think that I land on is one, to ask clarifying questions, ground it back and map it back to the business and user goals, the thing you're trying to achieve in the first place, and then talk about how you want to do that and the trade-offs of taking particular routes. So if you if product is wanting one thing, it's like, okay, well, if you want that, this is the amount of effort it's going to take, this is the impact it's going to have on the timeline and the impact it's going to have on the goal. So if you can kind of reground it and then get everybody to agree on the impact, and then hope that the result is kind of what everybody's expecting, that's the kind of way to do it. High level, general, but yeah, there's going to be a lot of good stuff, and it's really timely that you asked that question. Okay, my phone's gonna die because I'm always so prepared for these, and I'm always so planned. So TikTok, I won't be on for too much longer, so I'm just gonna answer a few more questions. Do I have any plans for online workshops? Workshops? No, but I am working on something to help designers practice, like actually hands-on practice their product and business understanding. And I'm working on it with like 7 to 8 other designers, and I'm going to release it in September. So it's not a workshop, but it is kind of it's like a community. It'll be a bit of a community release on us. Look at this shot over on YouTube. We're just human over here. I'm not a professional content creator. Okay. Anyways, yeah, I'm creating this challenge. Effectively, what it's going to be is it's going to allow you to have real world prompts with real insights, real KPIs, OKRs. If you don't know what those mean, they're just goals. They're just numbers that you're trying to hit, and give you real things to work on to effectively try to incorporate your business understanding and articulate the solution that you've put together with business rationale. And I'm very excited for the reasons I stated before, because I told you it's a superpower. So I'm building something to help you gain that superpower. So keep an eye out for that. I haven't started it yet, but I will say, if that sounds like super massively interesting to you and you actually want to help me build it or give input on some of the aspects of building it, I'm going to share a link over in YouTube, and it is the full brief of the project that I'm working on. Let me try to share it in TikTok. I'm confident it never works, but I'm going to do it anyways. Because if you guys would like to join me, I'm genuine. I want to like do it. Drop the link in TikTok, but I literally don't think TikTok allows me to share links in the chats. That's the issue. But it is the full brief, and if that still looks interesting to you and you wanna help me along with, like, the type of feedback I've listed out on there, please join, because I would love to have you. I think I've got, like, a group of people. I sent this out last week. I've got a few people who've already signed up, and so I'm gonna create a Slack community, and then as I go along building out this whole challenge. I'm going to get your guys' input on it. So yes, please have a look at that if you can. Mm-mm-mm. And it's going to be really cool. So after the first 8 weeks, it's going to run fully autonomously. You can do it in your own time, whatever. But if you want to do it as a community, note on other people's designs, get input on your designs, your solutions, your proposed stuff. Those 8 weeks are going to be your way to do that. So kind of joining in and joining the collective is going to be like, if that's your vibe, then I definitely recommend it. If not, if you're like a solo lone wolf, cool too. You can do it and do it that way, but it'll be good. I promise. Want to transition from sales into UX design? You think you can learn on your own? Yes, definitely. Go download my learning guide on my website and get started that way. It's free. It's got a lot of resources in there, and it also will help you take you through a process that you can actually evaluate that UX design is something you're actually interested in, which is important. And then from there, you can decide if you want to invest more time and money into your education. But yeah. Hi, are you on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram? Instagram, yes. TikTok, YouTube, I only do lives and shorts. Otherwise, no. But lives and shorts for sure. And then I'm also on LinkedIn, so go add me there if you want. And Substack and Medium. I'm everywhere. I have to let my dog outside. Give me 2 seconds. He's just gonna keep staring at me. But he's also like a cat, so you'll probably hear him bark in like 2 seconds. So yeah, just warning you. Okay. I have okay. Okay, just choosing maybe 1 or 2 more questions. Okay. I'm gonna look over here. Let's see what YouTube's got. Okay. I'm currently putting together a PowerPoint. Wow, I haven't seen PPT in quite some time. To convince my manager for conducting user research. They are not much into design and see it as a visual thing. Ooh, any tips and suggestions? Wow. Okay. First off, huge congrats for taking that initiative. I think that's amazing and awesome. And be sure to include that in your portfolio. But yeah, that is super, super cool. Yeah, my biggest suggestions are wait. Am I so annoying? I wrote something about this. When they say no to research, hang on. 2 seconds. I think I have something for you. I just do these live so I can just share all of my links of things that I've already written. But it's also just reinforcing. Okay, the cost of skipping UX research. I have written something about this. Amazing. Okay, sorry. This is probably super annoying, but all the information is in there. You can use it and take it as you want. But yeah, so literally the whole sentiment is I got a similar question that my stakeholders think research is a waste of time. They'd rather just build it and see what happens. So yeah, some of the recommendations that I'm making in there is to make sure that you speak their language. So talk about ROI, not necessarily UX. Like, oh, we need to make sure that users like this, or we're really not confident in this direction, like whatever. Turn that into real, tangible value, which basically says, hey, if we go forward and develop this, and I have this example in here. So a team of 3 developers working 40 hours a week, that's $12,600 USD in development cost alone. Or we could test it with 5 users that could cost as little as $200. So making it super tangible like that maybe not the super example, but if you even have internal cost visibility, sick, amazing. So yeah, kind of what are the trade-offs? Like, yes, I'm asking for a little bit of money now, but if we go forward with this and we're wrong, the real cost is developers' time. Developers are expensive. And then start with small and quick wins. So maybe you could, run, you compromise. You don't have to do this exhaustive, quite crazy testing, but maybe you could run something quick and informal. Super good. Reframe research as insurance. So I've already been alluding to this. So we don't have time to research, we need to launch now. But it's like, yeah, I get that speed is super important, but if we take a week to do this, it will avoid the rework later if we're wrong. And then it's all about confidence. It's really about getting the stakeholders the confidence that they need to go into a direction. So whether you have competing feedback, you have, you can't really, there's no way other than to get user input to really take a direction that all of you can be confident in. So it could be an alignment positioning as well. But yeah, really when it boils down to it is real money is on the line. And then stakeholder confidence is on the line. So if you could position your argument to your manager about conducting some user research that way, I think it'll really, really help get your case, bought into. So again, love the initiative. Love that. Okay. Let me just see if I'm missing anything. Awesome. I appreciate it. I really hope that my content does help you guys as designers, because I know it's a crazy world out there and lots of stuff is changing. And I just want to be here to like anchor and ground you because not everything matters, but some stuff really, really matters. Right. So I appreciate you saying that, Matthias. And hopefully it does help. Okay. I'm going to find one more question because straight up, it's been an hour. And my phone's going to die. So one more, if there's any good ones. Oh, you messed up an interview yesterday, portfolio review for a staff role. Still bummed. Oh, that's tough. And you're actively saying you messed up the interview, so you know maybe what you did wrong. Oh, I feel sorry. Yeah, that sucks. I've definitely walked out of interviews and been like, I did not, that did not go well. Like so many things are running through my head that I should have said or how I should have answered things. So I feel you on that one. I think we've all kind of been there, right? Whether you're just like, oh, like analyzing everything you could have done better. Yeah. Okay, looking forward to the Substack article this week. Love that. Definitely go subscribe. You guys will benefit immensely, I promise. Or you can always unsubscribe if you feel like you're not. That's cool too. Okay. Last ones. Why are good UX designers so rare and many UI people claim to be UX people? Why are they so rare? So UX designers explicitly, for the reasons I said before, the role of being an explicit UX designer who does no visuals is becoming outdated. Because realistically, to provide a very strong, good UX, UI has to be a part of it. So one designer doing that role actually makes a lot of sense. Also, the visual side becoming more accessible with design systems and other things makes it so that you don't have to be, the best, most top visual designer. But why are good UX designers so rare? And it's just, yeah, purely visual designers. Because I think a lot of you guys can feel free to disagree with this. Anything I say ever, but they're rare because I think a lot of designers get into this industry, into being a designer, to be a creative, to be a visual creative. They see kind of beautiful websites or cool media online and I want to do that. Like I know that was part of the reason I got into it as well. It's like, oh, I love creating digital interactive experiences. And then the kind of the thing that you're sold is the UI. is the UI side of it is the color palettes and the hierarchy and understanding visual principles and imagery and all these other things, right? That's kind of a lot of what is sold in to become a designer. And then people get into it and they're like, I want to do that. But the reality isn't that. Not for a lot of us. Like, yes, visual design is super, super, super important, but it is nothing if the actual usability, the UX of it, is poopy, is no good. So, yeah, if you're, and I think that's just a harsh reality that a lot of designers kind of like come to figure out as they, uh, hearing things, sorry, as they like kind of go on and through and understanding their industry and like growing, and they're like, oh, they're requiring more of me and more of me, and this isn't just visual, and oh, they need more, and I'm seeing service blueprinting, and I'm seeing wireframes, and I'm seeing journey maps, and all this other stuff that a UX designer does, and they're like, that's not what I signed up for. I just signed up for to be a creative, a visual person who does, because design, right? You think of painting, you think of, yeah, visual interest and all these other things. So that's my 2 cents as to why I think maybe there's not as strong UX skills in the industry. And then some people, like myself, figure out that there's more to being a designer than just the visual side. And as somebody who loves to solve problems, okay, TikTok, calm down. I'm still here and I'm not a robot. Um, who loves to solve problems, I'm like, get me in there. Like I want to do the customer journey maps. I want to unearth the problems. I want to have this massive toolkit that allows me to figure anything that comes my way out. Visual is a piece of that, but it is just a piece. Um, and those designers absolutely thrive, and they have way more job opportunities than the designers who stick in the kind of individual buckets. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents. I think that's gonna be the last question. So what do I have to end on? I think, yeah, definitely go check out my Substack if you're interested in being a designer who has more influence and going beyond the visuals. It's really good over there. I'm over on Instagram as well. I'm a little bit more active on stories, so I love to do like polls over there, share a little bit more behind the scenes and stuff. So if you're on Instagram, go check that out. And then I try to do these lives twice a month, so keep an eye out for that. And like I said, I'm cooking up a very cool design challenge that I hope some of you will join me in creating, but it's around the September timeline. So, if that sounds interesting and you want to grow your product and business understanding with something hands on, no lectures, no lectures, but actual hands on prompts with real data, like real insights, real goals, keep an eye out because I'm going to be sharing bits and bobs about that. And then LinkedIn, if you want to connect, cool, let's do that too. Thanks for joining, and hope it was helpful. So I'll catch you guys in the next one.